Hmm. Weird, isn't it? This is our Sunday morning, sitting in my office,
It's so strange.
pretending we don't have the community here, but we're going to do this video chat thing. Um, I guess it's using technology to some advantage, but certainly
It's still a really strange Sunday morning.
Sure is, let alone a strange Holy Week. What if all the internet stuff crashed? Can you imagine how isolated our world would be right now?
Yeah, it is interesting, like the fact that this happened at a time when we had the connections that we can make without actually interacting. I read a sci-fi book, I think it was Isaac Asimov, just short story about a future where there was literally no physical contact between human beings. They just gotten beyond all that, and I was like, we are in the future, and the future is now.
Wow.
Can you close those blinds before we get started?
You want to get started research?
Yeah, because the light from them comes on the back wall when cars go by.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember that when we were testing that was kind of distracting.
Good. How does my hair look? Is it all right?
You got like one out of place. Also, Chris Storm would indicate that it is a little bit whiter than his, but he doesn't have much.
We have a couple minutes here yet.
Yeah.
You look all right.
My hair's okay.
Your hair looks fine.
It's not going anywhere strange.
Your hair looks
okay, just checking.
I was reading last night in that news magazine I get on Saturdays that internet services slowed way down because of the massive demand on it. So in the down in the Bay Area, they said it's down 22% from its normal speed because of a huge amount of people logging on. So they said.
I hope that doesn't affect our ability to do stuff.
At some point it could, I suppose. But we've probably seen the level that it's going to be reaching already. I don't know if it's going to keep going up. I mean, it's all the kids being online, and of course people working from home. Of course, if they're working from home, that's the same bandwidth they'd probably be using if they were at work.
Yeah.
It's not multiplying bandwidth.
No, it shouldn't be, I wouldn't think.
But think of the millions of school kids.
But yeah, the potential for doing nothing but streaming videos at home.
Right, and doing their schoolwork that way.
During their schoolwork that way.
Right, I mean, that's huge. That's way more. Let alone their time on games, stuff like that. How much time do we have before we can go on screen?
Oh, it's about time. You want to come on over here? We'll get started.
Oh, give me a minute. I think I've got a belch coming.
Okay. Let it out before we go.
Be careful. All right, I'm going to come on over.
Okay.
Start it up. What?
Where it should say go live, it says end live video. I think we've been going.
You're kidding. We've been on this whole time?
Yeah.
Well, it's good I didn't belch as loud as I thought I was going to.
No. The comments say that they're only 1 minute old, so I don't know. Oh, wait, there's a count timer here. It's 3.5 minutes we've been live, apparently. Well, that's just great.
I hope. We are so professional.
Were we talking about anything confidential?
No. I don't think I did my confession to you or something like that.
We might need to edit this video later. Okay, here we are. We're live, and apparently have been for a while now.
Hello, everybody. We're happy to be with you on this Sunday morning, Palm Sunday it is. So we've got in front of us here broccoli once again. I'll tell you what I brought along today. Well, actually, someone just came to the front door, and they brought in, complete with mask and gloves on their hands, homemade cookies for us today. We are not going to share them. I'm guessing we'll do a good number on those before we're done. But that's our treat for our coffee and donuts today. I also brought in show and tell this morning, so we might start doing this on a regular basis.
You should probably do that because I'm still trying to figure out how to get to the point where I can read their comments.
Okay. Well, let me do show and tell for you. So Friday is my day off, and I was out at my property in Scappoose, and I was pulling weeds. This is a dandelion that is kind of wimped out already by now. You can see how droopy it is. But what I want you to see, I was digging with one of those long screwdrivers with a forked end on it. This is root. Can you see how long that is? I measured it with my tape. 18-inch long root came up with this dandelion. I actually pulled 6 5-gallon buckets full of these out of my grass out there. But the bad news is, and I'm not sure you can see this very well, this had a second root coming out here that broke off. So that means that although I got this great big long one out, that one is still living. So I'm guessing by the time I get out there next week, I'll have a brand new dandelion. But maybe there's a message in that about us putting our own roots down deep in times like this. I don't know.
I just missed all of that, but that is a giant dandelion root. Good news, though, I managed to get where I can read comments, so that's something.
I'm proud of my dandelion.
It was a huge dandelion, that was it? That was the entire story?
It was the root. It was an 18-inch long root.
Okay, I'm impressed. I've been pulling dandelions, and the most I've gotten out of my yard is like 4 inches.
And I think I've been told if you break off the root, even if you don't break off the root, I think they start up again. They're very, what's the word, pernicious? That's not the right word.
I don't know.
There's a word for very aggressive and
contagious. That's the word that's in my mind right now.
There you go.
That might not be the one that we want.
There might be some virtue in that at some level.
So I wanted to start today with a couple questions that came via email for some people who aren't able to comment on Facebook. So first off, Father Dave, this is for you. You said your favorite saint is Saint Joseph. And the question is, what happened to him? And it seems like after the childhood of Jesus, Joseph just closed up shop and faded away. Well, what do we know about him after Jesus' childhood?
Well, you feel free to chime in on this. We know almost nothing about Joseph after Jesus' childhood. We're quite confident that he must have died before the crucifixion because Jesus passed Mary on to John the Evangelist, your favorite saint, at that whole time, which wouldn't have happened if Joseph was still there to take care of her. So other than that, we know nothing. What else?
We know nothing. There's different theories about how old Joseph was. Maybe he was significantly older than Mary, which would have been common at the time. And we assume that he died at some point, but we don't really know when. So, yeah, we don't know much.
Good.
Okay, the other question on that one was, as Father Dave is adding an extra year to his pastorship with a yay thrown in, do you think that he could have you being me, fully ready to take over our parish as the pastor? And then they give me some compliments about how awesome I am. Very much appreciated. Thank you.
I do believe Father Hans could step in very well. You all know him. The staff knows him. I think that would help for a really good transition. That's not the normal way it's done, partly because I don't know all the reasons for it, but I know that precedent has been set in other places before. One of my classmates 37 years ago went directly from being parochial vicar in the parish he was at, and he was there for 3 or 4 years, and then he was named pastor there and stayed on for another 12 years. So, but I don't think that happens very often.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often, especially not nowadays. And what's more normal nowadays is you be a parochial vicar like I am in a larger parish with a school and get a lot of that experience, but your first assignment as a pastor would be in a smaller parish, which makes me think it's highly unlikely, simply because being an assistant priest at a parish this size is very different from leading a parish this size. And I would think the Archbishop would want me to get some more experience in a smaller parish before moving me to a big parish like this.
Probably true. But we don't know. And as you know, everything's changing right now anyway. So who knows which end is up at this point.
Okay, I got some other questions that were left over at the end of last week's session. Some good ones to answer. From Laura Rule, why do cantors of the Rosary say it so fast? My sons were amazed at how fast the Archbishop did his and said the prayers. And I have to laugh at this. I've been at some meetings of Knights of Columbus, not here, but at some, where it was the fastest decade of the Rosary I've ever heard. It was like, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. It's like, what are you even doing? Are you praying? Or are you just like trying to get the words out? So
I don't know either. I don't know either. We talked about this 2 weeks ago, I think, in this session too, that we don't need to think of every word so intentionally with the Rosary. Part of it is just background, kind of a mantra to quiet our minds so that we can maybe be more alert to the whole thing, offering it to the Lord. But I've seen it done excessively. That sounds like just babbling on to me. So,
Well, and I know in my own prayer of the rosary, sometimes it's really fast and sometimes it's slow, and it depends, like you said, on what I'm praying. Like, am I meditating on the words that I'm saying, or am I meditating on the mystery that I'm praying about? And if I'm meditating on the mystery, the words are likely to speed up, and if I'm meditating on the words, they're likely to slow down. So I think it depends on the situation in which I'm praying.
I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, it also depends for me if I really care about the person that I'm offering that thing for or not. So if I don't, then I can speed through it. If I do,
That's terrible, Lord. That's just terrible.
I take it back.
Okay. Here's another question from the end of last week from Libby Allen. Father Dave, how do your parents handle having two sons become priests?
They don't treat us any different than the other three kids. They really don't. I remember someone asked my dad that once when I was standing alongside. I said, "You must be really proud to have two sons who are priests." And he had a great response, just spontaneous. He said, "I'm proud of all five of our kids." Just like that.
That's a good answer.
A great answer.
On the spot.
No, I really appreciated that too. And I had a question via email that came in that didn't get answered either. I thought was a really thoughtful question. This came from Maria. She said, we talked about listening in our prayer and listening to God. She said, how do you listen to God when your anxieties and your concerns start overriding? You're trying to be quiet and listening. Good question. I'm going to turn that one to you, Father Hans, since you're going to become pastor here next anyway.
You keep coming back. You keep coming back. You keep saying, nope, I'm going to let that go for now and listen. And it is so hard. A good spiritual director told me once, if you get distracted 60 times over the course of an hour of prayer and you come back 60 times, that's 60 individual acts of love for Jesus. And that really helped me, not get frustrated when I get distracted, but just say, okay, this is an opportunity to come back. One of the other things I do, especially if I'm worried about specific things that I need to remember after I'm done with my prayer time, and so it's like that keeps coming up, I will write that down on a piece of pad of paper next to me, and then as soon as it comes up, I can let go of it because I know it's there. I don't need to remember it. I know the memory is written down, and I won't forget it.
Yeah, that's really good. I like that too. I've used the description once that distractions can either be off ramps or on ramps, thinking about freeways. And if we use them as off ramps, they just spiral away further and further. We start thinking about what's for supper, and then we think, well, how am I supposed to go shopping when Sunday would not be a good day to go shopping? And do I have my mask ready? It goes, I think we've all done that. Or they can be on ramps and say, Lord, I offer you my plans for supper. I got to figure out how to do this. Help me to let go of it for now, though, so I can continue to pray. So letting it turn us back into prayer rather than this heroic effort to try to white knuckle grip and say that I shouldn't be thinking about this now. So maybe it's both.
Another question from the end of last week.
These cookies are really good, by the way, and they dip.
Okay.
Really well.
I forgot to mention what I have today.
Okay.
So we've got the broccoli. This is actually last week's broccoli. I'm slightly ashamed of that, but the option of using last week's broccoli versus actually going to a store, I chose the prudent course of not going to a store. Coffee as usual. And this is actually, believe it or not, the black licorice that Father Dave gave me for Christmas. And this is sort of indicative of just how little I eat sweets when I'm at home. Wow. Because it's been there the entire time, and I keep running into it occasionally and having another piece. But
you are so holy. Your self-discipline is so impressive.
It's still delicious.
Wow.
What do you have today?
Well, I got to tell you that I did use up all the cat litter that he gave me for Christmas. I didn't use it personally, just so you know that.
Okay, just check.
But Sammy has used it up. I'm sure we're on probably another 2 or 3 boxes since then. But thank you again.
So you appreciated my gift more than I did yours because you used yours, and I apparently didn't use mine.
I don't think Sammy savored his cat litter, but you're savoring your black licorice, which I wouldn't have any interest in nibbling on.
Oh, it's delicious.
I hate it. What's next?
The question, as I chew on my black licorice, what should we read to kids during this time, aside from the daily readings? I was thinking some of the saints books. are really beautiful. Some of the stories of the saints are really good stories, especially for kids. Depends on the saint. Some of them are a little more gruesome than others.
But that's part of the interest for the kids. You know,
It is. It
the
depends.
gorier, the
Depends on
more
the
violent,
kids.
the better some. And Chris Dorman's got some great stuff posted on our website for children as well. Take a look at that. I'm impressed with the resources that he digs through. There's really good stuff out there now. Some would be written, some could be audio and video.
Okay, here's the last question that was left over from last week. Is it okay to supplement our learning of faith by listening to non-Catholic preachers like Joyce Meyer or Joel Osteen Ministries? I'll share first. Back when I was driving my car around a lot more, I would listen to various things on the radio, and one of the things I loved to listen to was just a variety of Protestant pastors preaching, and some of them were somewhat over the top, and I was like, no, that's not the Christian message, and some of them were really, really, really good and helpful for me. And just, general stereotype, Protestants preach longer than Catholics do. But it was really helpful to get into what some of the scriptures are and what they say. Always, comparing it to what I know from my Catholic faith, but really helpful to get a little bit deeper in.
I too have found a lot of enrichment from non-Catholic sources. Some of you know Pastor Ron Mell from next door, Beaverton Foursquare, who was their founding pastor, I believe. I used to listen to him a lot and found great inspiration with him. I've been watching the videos from their new pastor now, Father Brad. Also, just really good, sound, inspiring stuff. So, yeah, I don't see any reason not to. I think we have certain things that we hold a little bit differently as Catholics at times, but the fundamental message of Jesus Christ and discipleship is one and the same across the board.
Okay, we made it through last week. Now it's time to find out. I haven't looked at any of these comments yet. Just how far behind we are.
I bet you're behind.
So for everybody who's saying good morning and hi and so forth, hi and good morning. I'm not going to read them individually because I want to get down to the good questions. This is important from Odie. Father Dave, you look good in a red vest.
Thank you. I spent hours with my wardrobe this morning.
Miss Betty loves show and tell. Rufus is missing.
Hold on. Miss Betty's up at 10:30 in the morning?
Apparently.
What?
Well,
what?
She's usually here for like 9:30 Mass.
Yeah, but that's heroic sacrifice for her. She'll email me at 1 or 2 in the morning sometimes, knowing that I'm just about ready to get up about when she's emailing me. So, Betty, wow.
The Contreras are roasting broccoli to eat today with olive oil and kosher salt. Good for you guys.
Yum.
Miss Betty again, dandelions make a nice green salad. Yes, but I don't recommend the wild ones because they are way more bitter. Having eaten a lot of wild dandelion greens in my life, they're pretty bitter. Don't ask. It was a good video.
Wow.
A shout out to Chris for his awesome posts. Thank you for such a beautiful service with music. For those of you who haven't seen our Palm Sunday Mass yet and haven't attended that Mass yet, we managed to get Mark and Ken in there, and I think the music adds quite a lot.
Yeah, it does. We're really proud to be able to do that, to include them. And we apologize, too, that we didn't get it posted last night till late. We had some technical difficulties that we've overcome now. So thanks for your patience with that. I know sometimes it doesn't take much to throw off an evening when you've got something set and then it doesn't happen. So again, patience with us, please, and we're doing the best we can with all of this.
Here's a question from Emily Cologne, and the kids all say hi. The question is, since we've been on the West Coast, I haven't heard altar bells being used during Mass, except in my head, of course. They still use them back east. Is there a reason for that? I found a set on Amazon. I think it varies from parish to parish. My understanding of the altar bells in general and where they originated is in the old form of the Mass. It wasn't always clear what the priest was doing and what part of the Mass it was at, especially since the prayers during the consecration were completely silent. And so the bells were rung to let the congregation know this is the moment of the consecration. Because they aren't really needed for that anymore, some parishes don't use them. Some parishes continue to use them. It varies from parish to parish here in the Archdiocese of Portland. Agreed.
I remember in my youngest days going to Mass and not being able to understand anything. And we were actually encouraged to pray the rosary during Mass or something like that because we didn't really know what was happening anyway. And then the bells would call us, we'd kind of wake you up. So you were taking a convenient nap, which we weren't allowed to do. At least that would let you know that this is what's happening at Mass right now. Hopefully you don't need that. You don't need that prompt at this point.
Yeah, and personally, I think the bells are still really beautiful, but the purpose that they served originally is no longer needed. So, yeah. Here's a question. Would Deacon Brett stay or would he follow you?
That's assuming I would want him to follow me. No.
I love this question because it gives you a chance to just
prod it deep. You're going all kinds of directions with that. No,
so great.
As you know, Brett and I worked very well together. He came here about 2 years after I came. We did not come at the same time. He lives right here in the area. I can't imagine him moving when I move. So his roots are here, and I think he's very happy here as well.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Here's a question for me from Wayne Hudson. How and when did you decide to become a priest? Wayne, I'm going to direct you to last week's Coffee and Broccoli video. It's still posted on our Facebook site. I actually answered that question pretty thoroughly last week, so go take a look at that. When this is over, though, you can't skip out on the live stream to watch the old one. When this is over. Andy Colomb appreciates the licorice. Good for you, Andy.
Yuck. Andy, was your truck up here in the parking lot this morning? I thought I saw your rig up here at the track. I didn't walk down to see if you were down there or not.
Oh, yeah, all the black licorice comments. People are loving it. Sue Ann would like a cookie. She asked if she can have one.
Nope.
The answer is no. They are ours.
They are really good, too.
No, I can't read questions anymore because there's food in my mouth. Live streaming with food is a bad idea, guys. Request for update on Walker Road expansion. Last week you said the office building would be gone. What's the plan? Where is it going to go?
I can't give you an update yet. We're getting closer to being able to do it. Now, I'm sorry, it's been a few weeks since we've been able to do an update. The process has changed a bit along the way. The restrictions with Washington County continue to appall us in some ways. We're not getting any special treatment because they're taking our property and taking our buildings. And so we're trying to find a way of making this happen where it's going to be cost effective and serve the parish well long run. So we will present to the whole parish as soon as we have a clear idea of how this is all going to happen. It's getting closer, but we're not there yet.
Priscilla Connolly, so funny and real. Thank you for the cross at the altar. So glad to have gotten that up. But then the question was, should it be covered with a purple cloth? Yeah, we probably should have done that, but because we had just put it up, we wanted people to be like, oh yeah, there is a crucifix back there. We finally realized that the crucifix that's in the chapel already was so high up that it was out of our frame. So we got a crucifix in there finally that's visible behind the altar.
And in our planning for Good Friday, it will be covered because it has to get uncovered during that service.
Yeah,
so that is underway.
Here's a question from Rebecca Geierlin. How is collection addressed? I assume she's talking about money for the parish.
Well, we're blessed in that we have a lot of folks giving online already. So that gives us at least a core part of our weekly collection is coming in no matter what. If you're traveling or whatever, we're really grateful for that. We heard from the Archdiocese earlier this week, just some real concerns from a lot of the parishes that have no one set up on an online giving, and they're in a crisis situation right away because they don't have any money coming in. So I'm grateful for those of you who are doing the online. It's really easy to set up. Call our office. We can get you underway with it. I brought the mail in yesterday, and there were a lot of personal envelopes in there where I could tell people were making their contributions that way as well. So we're grateful for that because, frankly, our overhead hasn't changed, even though you're not coming to Mass. We're still paying people here. We still have the utilities. So there's very little changes in our overhead, and we do need your help. So thanks, Rebecca, for your concern about that.
In relation to like other parishes that are in need, I just got an email from the Archdiocese saying, hey, would you be willing to give to this parishes in need account that they're putting together, and it basically was like, give money to the archdiocese with the understanding that it would go to help parishes that are having difficulty more than we are. So I looked that up, got on there, and gave some money to that because I can. And yeah, I know at this point, I know there's a lot of people who are like, yeah, it's really financially difficult time for us.
Mm-hmm.
But for those of you who are not struggling financially, that might be a way that you might be able to give at this time.
Be alert for scams. I hadn't seen that one. You checked it.
Yeah, I made sure it was actually through the Archdiocesan webpage and so forth.
There have been some more fake Father Dave emails going out too. The easy way to check on those is look at the return address. It's got to come from frdave at h-t to be legit. If it isn't, and most likely they're not legit. If you're wondering if it's legit or not, I'm sure it isn't. Is that?
And if it's asking for something,
yeah,
it is probably not legit.
It is not. I will not ask you via an email for iTunes cards or some crazy thing like that. So.
Yep. From Carlos Romo, what's your opinion on watching the Passion movie on TV, especially this coming week? Thanks. I love watching the Passion movie during Holy Week. It is rated R for violence. It's bloody and gory and brutal, and it's meant to indicate what actually happened and portray what actually happened. So they didn't, hold off on showing the violence. But I enjoy the movie myself. Enjoy isn't the right word. I think the movie is helpful for my faith and my understanding.
Fully agree. Yeah.
It depends on who you are and how well you handle seeing violence, I would say.
Yeah, there's been some critique of that movie, but the impact of it is undeniable.
Thinking of RCIA people, how will they be brought into the church this year? The Archbishop is considering this, and he's given us some suggestions. The plan, which is of course subject to change, would be wonderful if we could do it at the Vigil of Pentecost,
which is the 30th of May.
So if by the 30th of May some of the restrictions on gathering have been lifted, we might do it then, but that's still very much a big if.
And if we do it then, is that a double do?
Yes.
If we do it then.
Please stop saying do.
If we do it then, it will not be the Easter Vigil duplicated at that point. So there's some pieces of a Pentecost Vigil that are unique. But for those of you who love our Easter Vigil, and I'm one of those, and just love the enthusiasm of all of that, it won't be that experience. So 2020 is just not going to have that kind of an Easter Vigil.
And if it doesn't happen then, we will likely push it out further to whatever time we are allowed to gather and have a special service when that time comes. But that's still way up in the air and way out in the future.
We are in communication with all those people. They're still meeting on Tuesday nights with Aaron via Zoom. So they're continuing their preparation. They know that we're going to find some way of making it happen. We've even talked about, if necessary, when things begin getting released for even groups of 25 or something like that, or maybe having some individual small group sessions for the sacraments of initiation. You're laughing at something.
Here's a fun question. Any advice on how to tell a, quote, helpful neighbor that you don't want their home cooking during this time, or any other help that involves them interacting with you while confined to home? Be gentle, but also just simply, we're not supposed to be interacting if we don't have to, and this is a don't have to situation.
It's sensitive. It's been sensitive here at church too, and I appreciate goodwill gestures. Homemade cookies kind of superseded any of those cautions. So I guess I have my limits on that too, but we are trying to be cautious. Even here at church, we've got our offices closed now, although we have a skeleton staff here every day. And we're doing the best we can to keep ourselves sequestered and not create any unnecessary interaction, because there's risk whenever there's interaction. So we're trying to be consistent with that across the board. I'm not seeing anyone face to face now, so I'm doing all of my appointments, which have been pretty regular yet, but I'm doing them via phone or Zoom.
Yeah, same. And yeah, I would just say, cookies notwithstanding, it's just easier to stay apart. And it really is like trying to find that balance between mental health and physical health. And that balance is going to look different to different people. So be really, really gentle and keep up those conversations. Don't, completely cut off the conversation, but do it in a way that's distant. That's physically distant. With so much darkness and difficult media messages around us, can you help identify in ways in which you see God creating good out of our current brokenness? How can we keep our eyes fixed on that rather than anxiety? I've been able to connect over the phone with people I haven't talked to in months, if not years. People, loved ones that I like, oh, hey, I've got time and I want to talk to that person. And it's been really good. So a couple of those phone calls have happened for me.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of people out walking. The street that I'm on, that both Father Hans and I live on, is kind of a back way over to the duck pond. And I'm amazed how many people are walking their dogs or just walking along the way. There seems like there's been a fair amount of social interaction with that, keeping the distance. I think that's a good thing. I think it's asking all of us to just kind of examine the way we're living our lives, our priorities. So it takes a concerted effort. One of the things I'm having to limit myself on very deliberately is the amount of news I watch. It's so dire all the time. So I watch a little bit of the local news. I like to watch the weather. It's because I'm an Oregonian. But the national news, I kind of limit to about 5 minutes because it's the headline. It's just awful. I mean, and their little efforts at a good news clip in the middle of it doesn't do much for me. And you're right, it just enhances the anxiety for most folks.
Follow-up question from Carlos about the bells. As an altar server, I like to ring the bells for a long time. Was this good? It woke the congregation up. If it woke the congregation up, then yes, it was good.
And that's why we don't ring the bells anymore, because we have some piddly ringers and some who ring them too aggressively.
I've heard so many different styles of bell ringers. It's like, why are you even doing that?
And then the ones who go. I went to St. Stanislaus one week. It's at the Polish National Church in Portland. And I think they had 3 altar servers, but they had 3 different bells and they rang them in a really cool order. It just made you say it was bing, 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 or something like that. They had a pattern with it. It was quite striking. But I can only imagine the amount of training it would take to do that with the altar servers.
Oh, here we got this is a good one. I recently learned about Pacific Coast Fruit Company providing a fresh produce pickup at Holy Trinity. This is a wonderful opportunity, and I was wondering if this benefits the church or school financially in any way. Thanks for doing this. I just ordered my food it's coming on Tuesday, so I'm looking forward to picking up my first box of fresh produce.
Yeah, so it's a program. They reached out to the Archdiocese. They've been longtime supporters of Catholic stuff, and just said that this helps keep them in business. They needed some pickup locations, so they sell their produce, which they claim is minimally handled. I think that was one of the things in their selling point. So pick up here, we get $1 for every box that is picked up on our campus here. So it's not a fundraiser as such, but it's their gesture to keep their employees active and to provide fresh produce in the midst of this, and keep us from having to go to the store to get it. So,
and like I said, this broccoli is a week old, and part of that, the reason for that is I decided not to go to the store because I know I've got fresh produce coming on Tuesday. And they said literally I just open my trunk, step back, they'll put the box in the trunk of my car, they step away, I close the trunk of my car and drive away.
Pretty cool.
It's that simple, and if it's minimally handled and nobody's breathing on it,
kind of a win-win situation.
And who knows, maybe there will be broccoli in it, and we'll have fresh broccoli next week, and maybe there won't, and maybe we'll have Brussels sprouts next week.
Yeah,
we'll see what I get.
I got a box coming too. Let's keep this broccoli going. I want to see when it fully opens. I've never let it fully open.
Just let it flower?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to, if you can spare it.
I will not eat this broccoli.
I mean, it's 2.5 weeks old.
Yeah, it's getting up there.
But it's still, I mean, I would still eat it at that point for sure.
It's a little bit yellow, but it's definitely still edible. But okay, we'll just let it go and see what it does. Let's see. Will it be possible for you to live stream the Holy Week services? Yes. Yes, it will. We're going to be live streaming Thursday, Friday, and Saturday evening. Each of the services will be at 7 p.m. We're not planning on recording those services because by their very nature, they're meant to be participated in at a very specific time. And so we're going to live stream those three, 7 p.m. each evening, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then Sunday morning, Easter morning, we're going to live stream that one at 8 a.m. and then get the recording of that one up on our website as quickly as we can.
So you understand the difference on that? It took me a little while to figure that out. Recording means that you can replay it whenever you want. You cannot replay the Holy Thursday, Good Friday, or Easter Vigil one. You have to be with us live, just as if you were coming to church. So you'd have to say, all right, we need to make sure that at 7 o'clock tonight, we're going to be ready to do Holy Thursday together as a family or as a couple or as an individual, because that's your only chance to do that. If you come in late, it'll be just like coming in late to Mass. It'll be going already, and it will not be posted later on. But Easter morning, that one will be available all day long, though it will be live at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I'll be interested in your feedback on that too. How important you think that the live is versus knowing that you're watching a recorded one. Right now, we're recording 10 o'clock on Saturday mornings for the weekend. That's what we did yesterday for Palm Sunday. And just see how different that feels to you, knowing that what you're watching was recorded live, was recorded static in the morning, and now is being replayed. How different that feels, if it does.
Yeah, very much appreciate some feedback on that, and we can make decisions on what we're doing going forward in the Easter season based on what we hear. Yeah. Here's a question. Confusion on when the Sabbath is. Is it Saturday or Sunday? The Sabbath is actually the word, and if you look at Spanish and Italian, sábado, it literally means Saturday. However, we as Christians celebrate on Sunday because that's the day when Jesus rose from the dead. So all of the laws regarding Sabbath rest that come from the Old Testament law applied to Saturday. Our understanding of Sabbath rest is that we do it on the day we celebrate Jesus' resurrection, still with the intent to rest, but we did switch which day we do that on because of Jesus' resurrection.
Good explanation. Good, concise.
Mm-hmm.
How far behind are you on the posts?
I have no idea. I have to get all the way down to the bottom. It doesn't tell me how far behind I am.
I thought they might be.
Maybe there's a bar on the side. No, I'm not seeing anything. Oregon Food Bank needs money. Please donate online.
Yes.
Question, where should we leave food for the Holy Trinity food closet?
I've been telling people, if you leave it on the front porch of the food closet, it'll get in. We're checking it regularly, and they're open most days anyway. So if it's stolen, I guess it's someone who needs it, but I don't think that would happen. We've had people drop off there often, so that's always acceptable.
Okay, these are important questions from Chris Storm.
Now I'm scared.
They're not. Father Hans, while we're under social distancing, who will do your hair? All in caps. The same person who always does my hair, myself. I'm able to do that while staying 6 feet away from myself.
Ooh.
Yeah, I can do that. And then more important questions. Will Father Dave grow a mullet? Mullet is
I don't know what that is, Chris.
Business in front, party in back. It means like short on top, but then long in the back.
Why would I do that, Chris?
Because you can. Social distancing.
My hairdresser wouldn't do that.
And
you're looking at him.
Will Father Hans grow bangs? I'll think about it, Chris. We'll see what happens.
These could only come from you, Chris.
Why? The number of laughing faces on the screen right now is just, it's one after another after another. Hi, fathers. Will we miss Hal Bray playing his wooden knocker thingy on Holy Thursday or Good Friday? That's a good question.
Whoa.
What's the plan on that?
Wow. Well, let's see. We don't do the procession, though. So, yes, you will miss it. 2020 will not have the wooden knocker. Good point.
I'm not seeing question marks, so here we go. Mullet only if he combines it with torn sleeve shirts. Oh, yuck. Okay, we've clearly been away from people for too long. Strange ideas are coming. Let's see more. Good in everything. Just some wonderful ideas for what to do to have social interaction.
I'll do a little interlude.
Yeah, go ahead. Right? Go ahead. I'm not seeing any questions.
So on our table here behind us, I brought a rock along. You bring it up closer, you can see it. Can you read the insignia on there? Kind of ties in well with Holy Week. This was given to me 8 or 10 years ago, maybe, by one of our parishioners who had had a stroke, and part of her therapy overcoming the stroke was to paint. And this is one of the paintings she gave me, but I pull it out for Lent every year because I like the Lord is my rock. And that's a good message for us as we walk through these crazy times and we need a strong foundation to hold on to. So thank you for that rock.
This is from Susan Finch. She says, it helps me to still go to Mass at my regular time. I switched back to the 9:30 Mass with Jeff Seckley and family. Routine is comforting to me. And then Jennifer Radosavljevic, I probably got that wrong, said, we are sitting right behind you. So there's some beautiful, it's nice to do the routine as much as possible.
Well, Jennifer's online. We should probably say how she disrupted our confession experience.
Yeah, seriously. It was a drive-through confessional, and people couldn't drive through because there was a car just stuck there. Sorry, Jennifer.
Her battery, she claims, died right there, but it was so disruptive. We had cars, the chaos in the parking lot. I bet we had 100 cars parked every which way trying to get
just
around her.
All over the place,
it was just
trying
amazing.
To get past.
And she claimed it was all her son's fault.
Yep, she blamed her son. Can you believe that? Okay, more questions about hair, because once that got started, it had to keep going. Father Dave, in all the years you've been a priest, have you ever grown a beard or mustache? And if not, will Father Hans's example encourage you to grow one?
I had a mustache for a while. I also was told by someone at that time that anyone with facial hair, you get more colds and stuff because it creates a carrier or a catching place for spray or whatever.
Really?
Yeah. So that's when I shaved it off.
I'm gonna go shave right now.
You should. I think you probably should. So facial hair could be a problem for you because
that's interesting.
Right near your nose and your mouth, obviously. So there.
I haven't shaved completely in years, and I am so tempted to do it right now, just from what you just said.
There might be total fallacy, but I was told, and it kind of makes sense to me why.
I'm going to ask the internet today to see what I can learn. Betty, I don't understand your question. Father Hans, do you have a flow bee? Do you know what a flow bee is? I thought that I was still young and hip, but I've never heard of a flow bee. We'll see. I look forward to seeing the follow-up to that to explain to me what it is. Father Hans, Father Dave, what do you miss most from having the regular masses?
People, just the enthusiasm. I mean, my whole experience of priesthood has been engaged back and forth with people. The mass is a dialogue, and to be doing that in front of a microphone, it's getting easier, it's getting more natural. But I so miss the energy, especially when I'm preaching. But even doing the prayers of the mass, knowing that there's a community of people that are vibrantly engaged and praying with me and with us as we do this. It feels so much like spectator sport when I'm just doing it in front of a camera.
I think I actually caught up with the comments.
Ooh.
Question here is, I forgot to answer what I miss most.
Yeah.
So the same, like people, interaction, especially giving homilies. Like I want to make jokes during homilies and have people laugh. And and there's nothing. And also you can tell if people are drifting off. You like look around and see if people are like engaged or not. And that feedback, sort of works into the homily. And it makes it so difficult to preach without having live feedback right in front of me. Yeah.
I think we mentioned a little bit last week or the week before too. We also don't get do-overs by doing it this way. So I had the homily last night for the Palm Sunday one, and I was thinking after the Mass, a couple of things I would have tightened up for sure. We usually do some revising overnight, and sometimes we'll even talk about it early on Sunday morning. Was that quite clear enough? And so I was, even as I was walking home yesterday after we finished up, I was thinking, oh, you know what I want? I can't do it over tomorrow. It's already done, So I missed that. I did just the live interaction that happens with them.
Where is the cat piano? The cat piano is right behind this chair. And if we run out of other things, I might bring it out. But right now, I'm going to keep trying to get through questions because we didn't get through them all last week. From Mabel, beautiful Palm Sunday Mass, very sacred and holy. Mass, homily, music. Can we have music, even simply a C spell, something got autocorrected, whenever possible?
Yeah, we're sure looking at that. It was a pleasure having Mark and Ken there with us.
And we will absolutely have them with us for Holy Thursday, Good Friday, Holy Saturday. So that's definitely planned.
And if you look on our website and or Facebook page, Steve Crocus and some of his musicians have also posted some of the special Holy Week music on that. They're going to do some Easter music. They did their responsorial song for Psalm 22 yesterday, and it's just beautiful. So it brings back memories for me of how it was done at 5:30. So for those of you who are regularly at 5:30, we do have that posted as well.
How should we address young adults about confession?
Gently. I've heard some horror stories of people pushing too hard and just driving people further away. So it's a gift. Confession really is a gift for us. And I think so many of us got caught in a negative view of it that I don't want to do that, But it's meant to be a sacrament of healing. That's its intention. And there's a great freedom. I still find, I gotta say, when I meet with my spiritual director once a month and go to confession to him, there's always a sense of release when it's over, and not just relief that I've done it and it's done for a month, but there's something that happens within when we bring those dark things out in the open and mention them to another person, especially within the confidentiality of confession. So I guess all we can do is encourage, but don't turn the guilt thing on with it. That's what I would say.
Yeah, there's a couple things that I like to say, and one is like on a purely emotional level, there's something so cathartic about saying what it is that I have done. I think one of the greatest desires in all of our hearts is to be fully known and loved anyway. And in a lot of ways, that's what confession provides, is the opportunity to say the worst thing I've done and be loved anyway. And it's so hard to say it sometimes. But that experience of being loved anyway makes it worth it. So that's part of the confessing part. Another thing that I've really been going through my mind a lot recently and sharing is like penance is never meant to be punishment, and it's always meant to be discipline. And this, for all you parents out there, this just applies in general. God never punishes us. He doesn't, but he does discipline us. And a lot of the difference, like it can be the exact same action, but the difference is whether the intent is to harm or to teach. Like punishment, the intent is to harm, and discipline, the intent is to teach. And so I've been, trying to shape the penances that I give based on that idea, because it's not meant to say you did something horribly wrong, you need to be hurt because of it. That's not what it is. The idea of a penance is to begin a new life, to learn how to love going forward. And so the penances that we give
Give some examples.
A lot of times if somebody comes and says, I haven't been doing good with my prayer life, I want to do better with my prayer life, I'll give a penance of, okay, for the next 3 days, pray for, depending, and usually I'll ask them, like what's reasonable for your schedule, but it might be pray for 10 minutes in the morning before you start the rest of your day. But basically, like depending on what is confessed, giving a way to overcome that in the future. might be what I go for.
Yeah, I tried to do something that's thoughtful and hopefully helpful, one that I use often, because typically our sins involve the people that we're closest to, our family members, the people we work with. So sometimes I'll give a penance like, as you walk through this week, or as you go home today, give one compliment to each of your family members. Don't make them fake, make them real, or do a litany of gratitude. Think of the things in your life you're really grateful for right now, and just thank God for those. I remember being told years ago that one of the best antidotes to almost any sin in our life is gratitude. The more we focus on giving thanks to God for the blessings we have, the more everything else just gets kind of pushed away. So.
One of the penances that I will often give if there's a certain person in your life who's mentioned in the confession is simply pray 3 Our Fathers, 3 Hail Marys for that person. And I'm guessing many of you have gotten that penance from me. And it really is just, we want what's best for that person, and that's what it means to love them. And often we either don't know what that is or can't do it, but God both knows and can do it. And so we just pray for that person and say, God, do something great for that person.
Or similarly, if there's someone that is a person who's struggling with forgiving, I'll say, why don't you, when you go to Mass this weekend, specifically make that your intention at this Mass, praying for that person, praying for their well-being, whatever they need right now, for the ability to let go.
So yeah,
that kind of stuff.
The original question about talking about to young adults about confession is so good. It's so good.
That's the best witness we can give, I think, for any of us, is how meaningful it is in our own lives. So it's an invitation.
Let's see, from Maria Menor, shave it all off, Father Hans.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe.
I had an email with Maria earlier today telling her that we've sanitized the digital waves coming from us, so you don't need to be 6 feet away from your computer screen.
I just learned something wonderful. A Flowbee is a vacuum-style home haircutting appliance. Thank you for sharing that with me. I have always thought that a vacuum-style haircutting appliance is something that makes way more sense than what's currently out there. I've got to get one of those.
Never heard of that. I've clipped my hair for years, and I've never even heard of that. So I've just got a Weimar clipper that I've had for probably 25 years.
Does the vacuum mean that you can cut it all exactly the same length? Because anytime I try to cut it longer than I do, I have difficulty getting it all the same length, and I bet the vacuum solves that problem.
Interesting. Thank you. Is that Ms. Betty?
Miss Betty said it first, but Nicole McCall is the one who explained what it was.
Wow.
Amazon. I'm going to be getting on Amazon later today, and I will use the free 5 to 7 day shipping, and it'll be here in 2 months. That's seriously, I put an order in on Amazon. I don't have Amazon Prime, so I always go with the delayed shipping because I don't need stuff immediately, but trying to get the free shipping. And I chose the 5 to 7 day option, and it was 30 days later.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So
your hair's going to be long. You'll have bangs by then.
Probably. I just quit cutting my hair completely.
Oh, okay.
I'd have to shave it all off. Okay. Let's see.
Such serious questions.
Much love to all. Stay well and God bless. Wait, you attach the Flowbee to the vacuum and cut hair all to a certain length. Does that mean I need a vacuum? The Flowbee isn't a vacuum itself?
Ooh, that won't
I have
work.
a lot of research to do.
That won't work in my house. Sammy hates vacuum cleaners. He hates vacuum. I don't vacuum.
From Jeff Seckley, did you dress up the camera this week so that we could, see the congregation?
Oh, we were going to do that.
We forgot to.
How are we going to do that? I got a good picture we could bring next time.
Let's see. More comments and no questions. Lots of good stuff about what to do with poems.
Good.
Why don't you have a response track, like a laugh track on comedy shows? We actually discussed that when we were first getting started, and Ingrid was here at the office with a laugh track, and she was playing that, and then she was playing other sound tracks, and it was a funny day. It was a really funny day. That's all I'll say about that. It was really hilarious.
What's that push button thing we had in our offices earlier? Someone gave us, you push the button and says,
oh, that was easy?
Is that right? Okay.
I still got that on my desk. It's just that was easy.
Yeah, okay. That's not exactly a laugh button.
Yeah.
That was easy.
But a laugh track is a great idea. Thank you especially for having the act of spiritual communion for us to follow. Question, is there a plan to have music during the Easter Vigil? Yes, there is. Absolutely. Let's see. From Laverna, wearing red today to feel a part of Palm Sunday. Very nice service.
Good job.
Good job. Very good call. Can we make an appointment for confession over the phone or Zoom?
Okay, so technically no, but in practice, yes. And what I do, because I have done confessions over the phone, if you go online, you'll hear that it's forbidden. It's forbidden simply because of the concern about confidentiality. So if anyone wants to confess to me over phone, I trust that God can work through that. But I always caution people. I say, from our end, as far as I know, there's no one listening in here in our office, but you just need to know that there's some question about confidentiality with anything that's via electronic communication. So what would you add to that?
I would add to that, and I've shared this with a few people over the past couple weeks, that if you can't go to confession for legitimate reasons, and this definitely qualifies, like if you can't leave the house, don't leave the house. But God is never going to leave us without the grace that we need. And this is a question, this is related to the question, like, can God save people who know nothing at all about the Catholic Church or through no fault of their own don't know of the regular means of salvation God has given us? For those of us who know and are able, we have to receive the Eucharist, we have to go to confession. At this time, we're not able.
We can do neither.
We can't do either, although we do still have the drive-up confessional, but if you don't feel safe leaving your house, that you don't need to do that. God's not going to leave you without the grace you need. And so with that, with the Eucharist, that prayer for spiritual communion that we have, that is an effective prayer to receive the grace of the Eucharist, because through no fault of your own, you're unable to receive the Eucharist at this time, but God's not going to leave you without the grace of the Eucharist. And so we believe that that prayer for spiritual communion carries that grace with it. Similarly, if you're not able to come to confession, God's not going to leave you without the grace of forgiveness. And so we have on our website that reconciliation service video, but we also have there a prayer for perfect contrition and confessing your sins directly to God. And our understanding is that you will be forgiven through that, the same as through sacramental confession. Now, there's a couple of caveats that go along with that. You still have to plan on coming to confession as soon as you're able to, once it's available again regularly and you're able to get out of the house or whatever. But yeah, so the original question that brought this up is going over the phone or over Zoom. The forgiveness is there through that perfect contrition to God at a time when you're not able to come to the sacrament.
Yep. Agreed.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
From Rita Marie Cross Trueworthy, I think we might have a Floby in the mother house. I assume, I've wondered about this. Do sisters who wear habits and have their head covered necessarily have their hair cut short? I don't know. I don't know what's under the veil.
I want to say none of your business, Rita Marie. I don't know.
I don't know. Do you believe in the Easter Bunny? If so, what will you do for getting your fill of chocolate?
Ooh.
The Easter Bunny is just as real as Santa Claus. Very, very real.
And the tooth fairy's right in there too.
Absolutely. And I actually still have some chocolates from Christmas also, because they're sitting at home and I've been waiting to open them until I get through my black licorice. Oh, there's some humor going on here. So Carlos actually asked, and I edited it. He said, "Do you believe in the Easter Buddy? Buddy?" And now people are making fun of him, I think. Was that the Easter Bunny or Easter Buddy? What is an Easter Buddy? I don't know. I don't know what an Easter Buddy is. From Vicky Morseth. There's a lot of breaking up and pausing that happens during the coffee hour. Please check into this. We never experienced this during Bishop Barron's daily masses, but there is no interaction available. Yeah, we're constantly looking at our means of communication and what's working best. For Facebook Live, I imagine that's just going to be a problem. You were saying earlier that internet usage in general throughout the world is slowing down a little bit because there's more being used. If you've got feedback about, how this is actually playing out in real life, we would love to hear about that. It helps us make decisions about what to do.
Yeah, I'd be curious if more of you are having that same problem. We've not heard that, Vicky, so I don't know from which end the problem might be.
So Laura Rule says, haven't had that problem there, so I don't know. Wait, I ran out of comments. Rita Marie says, I was trying to help Father Hans, not take an inventory of the sisters' hairstyles. Good for you, Rita Marie.
Good response.
Good response. We made it to the end of the comments. We ran out of questions.
You did really well then today.
How much time do we got?
2 minutes. Yeah.
We're right 2 minutes. Oh, we're right on. Good. I was afraid I'd have to bring out the cat piano.
And I want you to know that when we were talking before we began, that was actually planned out ahead of time.
We deliberately went live early. Yeah, that was on purpose.
We talked about making it even worse than we did, but
we know for sure that we didn't say anything confidential.
Right.
We're okay. We're okay. But we might leave it running long next week for some Easter outtakes. We'll see. We'll see. Can we close with a prayer?
Absolutely. You want to lead this week?
Sure. Let's just pray in Our Father, Hail Mary, glory be. In the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. All glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen. The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
May Almighty God bless you, the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Amen.
Good. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Good coffee and broccoli this morning. Thanks, everybody.
Glad to have you.
I'm going to keep talking as I approach the screen to turn this off, because somebody told me that it's really weird that we just stop talking and my face gets bigger and bigger and bigger at the live video, and there it goes.